Hi there, welcome to the Microsoft Azure Snips Analytics tutorial. My name is Ajay Kumar. I have more than 11 years of experience in Microsoft BI stack as well as data analytics field. If you would like to know more, you can go to my LinkedIn profile and there you can find all the information about me. Let's first discuss what is Azure. Well, Azure is the cloud platform by Microsoft where you would find more than 200 products and services which are designed to help you bring new solutions to life to solve today's challenges and create the future. There, you can build, run, and manage applications across multiple clouds, on premises, and at the edge with the tools and frameworks for your choice. You would get all the resources over there to build the applications and solutions that you require for your own organization. Now, the question arises, why should we go for Microsoft Azure? Well, there are many facts about Microsoft Azure, and some of them I'm going to present to you now. The very first is that Microsoft Azure almost has 70% of organizations worldwide which are using their cloud services. Secondly, over 95% of the Fortune 500 companies are using Microsoft Azure, and here you can see some of those companies. Now, there are so many other reasons as well. For example, Microsoft Azure has the more global reasons than any other cloud provider. Secondly, Microsoft Azure is hybrid. That means you can use it in combination with your cloud services as well as your on-premise services. Thirdly, Microsoft Azure can open source. That means you can use the open source software tools into the cloud. For example, for big data analytics such as Hadoop, Apache Spark, etc. Not only that, you can use SAP products that are running in Microsoft Azure Cloud, where you can get the identity, hybrid cloud, and integrations. You can use IoT, machine learning, business intelligence, and advanced analytics. All these SAP tools you can use with the Microsoft Azure as well. Now comes to the reason number 5. Why should you go with Microsoft Azure? Well, in Microsoft Azure, you get almost 100% availability. That depends what kind of SLA your company is signing with the Microsoft Azure. Microsoft Azure has different SLAs for different needs, and then you can choose according to what you really need for your own company for the solutions that you are going to provide using Microsoft Azure Cloud Services. At number 6, it comes pay as you go. That means you don't need to pay upfront. You only need to pay for the services that you are using. Then comes to the number 7. That means in terms of the world leaders in cloud services or cloud platform, Microsoft currently is at number 2. But if you would see in terms of the revenue, Microsoft is gaining more than twice the revenue as AWS is getting right now. Now, question comes, what you are going to learn in this video tutorial. Well, the very first we are going to start with why Snips Analytics. Then we would get to know about the cloud computing. What is it and why should you go for that? Then we are going to come to our very first topic, that is what is Azure Snips Analytics. After that, we are going to learn about the different terminologies that we are going to use in Azure Snips Analytics. Followed by that, we have to create and set up a Snips workspace. Then we are going to analyze using a serverless SQL pool. That means we are going to get to know what is serverless SQL pool and how you can create and use it into Snips Analytics. Then we are going to talk about analyze using a data explorer pool. After that, we are going to analyze using Apache Spark. Then we are going to analyze using a dedicated SQL pool. Then we are going to talk about analyze data in storage account, followed by orchestrate with pipelines. Then we are going to talk about how you can monitor different kinds of activities in Azure Snips Analytics. After that, we are going to also explore the knowledge center. That means if you have to learn something regarding the Azure Snips Analytics, where you can learn, where you can find the different community resources, or maybe if you are looking for specific documentation or templates, and how you can find that. And lastly, we are going to talk about how you can add an administrator for your Azure Snips Analytics account who can manage all the services or can monitor all the activities for your Azure Synapse Analytics account. Everything you would get to know in this video tutorial, and I'm sure after learning all these topics, you can easily jumpstart for your very first Azure Synapse Analytics project. But before going there, don't forget to create your Azure account. That is completely free. You can directly go to the Microsoft Azure Portal. Over there, you just need your one credit card, and Microsoft is not going to charge at all. They just need it for the verification purpose. Then you would get certain free credits as well. And there you can start working on Microsoft Azure. Over here, our learning objectives would be to understand the Azure Synapse Analytics tool. Secondly, to get familiarized with the technical terms related to Azure Synapse Analytics. And lastly, to perform the basic steps in creating workspace and resources in Azure Synapse Analytics. But let me tell you one thing, this is not it. There are much more in this tutorial, and you will realize it after completing this tutorial. So please don't forget to share your feedback after completing this tutorial. Now, what should you do? Well, the very first for you is to please try and understand the concept. Do not memorize them. Secondly, please watch the videos at your own pace. You can pause, you can rewind, or maybe you can lower down the speed if you think it's going to be very speedy. Lastly, please complete all the exercises and try it yourself. What's coming next? Well, in the next video, we are going to learn why Snips Analytics. That means what are all the reasons that you should start your career or your project on the Snips Analytics. Before proceeding further, you need to do something. That means first you need to create Azure free account. Secondly, you need to pay attention throughout this whole course so that you don't miss any of the detail. Thirdly, read more from the links given or the resources provided. And at last, I request you to practice, practice, and practice. Now let's discuss what is Azure Synapse Analytics. Well, Azure Synapse Analytics is a limitless analytics service that brings together data integration, enterprise data warehousing, and big data analytics. It comes under Microsoft Azure Cloud Platform Services, where you can create this service into your Azure Portal. It's going to provide you limitless analytics with unmatched time to insight. It gives you the freedom to query data on your terms using either serverless or dedicated options at scale. Also, Azure Snips brings these worlds together with a unified experience to ingest, explore, prepare, transform, manage, and serve data for immediate BI and machine learning needs. With Azure Synapse Analytics, you can experience limitless scale and query data on your own terms. Now, what does that mean actually? Well, in Azure Synapse, you can gain insights from all your data across data warehouses, data lakes, operational databases, and big data analytics systems. You can query both relational and non-relational data using the language of your choice. Also, for mission-critical workloads, you can easily optimize the performance of all the queries with intelligent workload management, workload isolation, and limitless concurrency. That's all you are going to get into your Azure Synapse Analytics. Secondly, we are going to discover powerful insights across all your data using Azure Synapse Analytics. In Azure Synapse Analytics, you can expand discovery of insights from all your data through integration with Power BI and Azure Machine Learning. Also, you can enable practitioners to easily apply machine learning models to all your intelligent apps without any data movement. This is going to significantly reduce project development time for BI and machine learning projects. Next comes the harness the power of unified analytics experience. What does that mean? Well, in Azure Synapse Analytics, you can create different workspaces, and inside one workspace, you can either create your dedicated pools, Azure Data Factory, you can there ingest data, you can explore, you can analyze, and even you can integrate Power BI over there to visualize your data. Next comes to the converged data workloads with Azure Synapse Link. Azure Synapse helps you to remove the barriers that complicate running analytics tasks on data that is stored in other systems, such as operational databases and business apps. For operational data, use Azure Synapse link for Azure Cosmos DB to implement a simple, low-cost, cloud-native hybrid transaction and analytical processing. That means HTAP, hybrid transaction analytical processing. Lastly, there is a safeguard data with unmatched security and privacy that you would find only in Azure Synapse Analytics. With Azure Synapse Analytics, you can keep your data safe with advanced security and privacy features like automated threat detection and always-on encryption. You can ensure fine-grained control with column-level and row-level security, column-level encryption, and dynamic data masking to automatically protect sensitive data in real time for your own organization. Now let's talk about the key capabilities. In terms of the key capabilities, as you can see on your screen, you will get unified analytics platform where you can analyze, explore, and visualize your data. Then you will also get the enterprise data warehousing. That means you can build all your enterprise data warehouse solutions with Synapse Analytics. You would also get code-free hybrid data integration. That means whether you are a data scientist, business analyst, or maybe data engineer, you all can use code-free hybrid data integration in Azure Synapse Analytics. Also, there is a functionality of log and telemetry analytics, which can be used to get the insights from the time series log and telemetry data with Azure Synapse Analytics Data Explorer distributed query engine. Next, you can integrate AI and BI. You will also get serverless and dedicated options. Not only that, under Azure Synapse Analytics, you would also find data lake exploration. Then you can deeply integrate Apache Spark and SQL engines. You can use your own language, whether you want to use TSQL, KQL, Python, Scala, Spark, SQL, or .NET. Whichever language you are comfortable with, you can use it over there. And lastly, you would get cloud native HTAP, that means hybrid transaction analytical processing. In order to gain the insights from your real-time transactional data stored in operational databases such as Azure Cosmos DB, you can use HTAP over there. At last, you can also accelerate your data warehousing integration with Azure Synapse Analytics, where you can build your code-free pipelines. You can store your data into your data lake. You can transform the data. You can load your data over there, and also you can get the data from the different data warehouses or the data lakes inside Synapse Analytics. In the last video, we discussed why Synapse Analytics. And in that video, I told you I'm going to talk about cloud computing in the next video. So here we are. In this video, I'm going to give you an introduction to cloud computing and also advantages and disadvantages of cloud computing. The very first question comes into our mind, what is cloud computing? Well guys, cloud computing provides us a means by which we can access the applications as utilities over the internet. It allows us to create, configure, and customize applications online. With the cloud computing, users can access database resources via the internet from anywhere for as long as they need without worrying about any maintenance or management of actual resources. Usually, in our companies, we used to have on-premise solutions. That means you would have all the computers, your data centers, your data storages, everything at one place inside your company. And because of that, there was a huge cost. That means CapEx for the industries. And then cloud computing comes into the picture. You don't need any kind of infrastructure for the cloud computing. If you are using software as a service inside the cloud computing, you just need a machine where you can use a browser, and along with that machine, you need a fast speed internet connection. That's all you need. After that, you can just log in and start using your applications. Now let's discuss what is cloud. Well guys, the term cloud refers to a network or internet. In other words, we can say that the cloud is something which is present at a remote location. Cloud can provide services over the network, on public networks or on private networks such as WAN, LAN or VPN. Applications such as email, web conferencing, customer relationship management all run in cloud. For example, suppose you are using Microsoft services. One of them is Outlook for your email. Nowadays, Microsoft Outlook is also on the cloud. So no matter what you are working on, where you have left it, or maybe your system got shut down while you are writing an email, whenever you are gonna open your system again, you can start from the same place where you left off. And why is it? How is it possible? It's only possible because all your data is residing on the cloud. And cloud is nothing but you are just browsing all the services or all the softwares over the internet, and that is stored somewhere else, maybe in your country or any another country, in the data centers of your cloud provider. For example, in our case, Microsoft. Microsoft has a different cloud data centers where they have all the machines that you used to have in your own organization. For example, your CPUs, your RAM, ROM, computers, big machines and everything are there in your data centers. And through them, we can use our desired services that we are working on. Now, again, what is cloud computing? Well, whatever computing you are doing or whatever processing you are doing through the cloud services, that is cloud computing. Cloud computing refers to manipulating, configuring, and accessing the applications online. It offers online data storage, infrastructure, and application. Cloud computing is both a combination of software and hardware-based computing resources delivered as a network service. This is a typical architecture of a cloud computing. On your right hand side, you would see there is a client infrastructure, which is known as the front end. For example, in our case, client is you, and the one that who's providing the services, that would be your back end. That is the service provider or the cloud provider. Let's assume it's Microsoft. In the Microsoft Azure is the cloud services platform. And in between them, there would be internet connection. So whenever you need to use the services from the Microsoft Azure, you should have an internet connection. And that should be with a very good speed. Otherwise, you may face many disturbances while using these services. Then inside the backend part, that means at the service provider's location, you would see there are the different things. There they manage the applications, they manage the security, your data, everything. There are the different layers such as application, then services, runtime cloud, storage, infrastructure. So everything is their own headache. You don't need to manage anything if you are using software as a service. You just need to browse your software service and you have to start working on it. Everything else is being managed by your cloud provider. Similarly, on your left hand side, you will see there are the two persons who are browsing the services through internet. Then on the back end, you would see web and application services, and then there's a database server where all the data is being stored. Under cloud services, there are two working models. One is known as deployment model, another is known as service model. There are three different kinds of deployment model. That means public cloud, that generally we use, where you get immense amount of computing powers and where you use all the services that is being offered by the cloud providers to the public. Anyone can avail them after paying their prices or signing up a contract with them. Second comes the private cloud. This is for an organization specific. For example, XYZ is an organization and they don't want to use the public cloud. They want their specific cloud services. That means those services are dedicated to them only. So Microsoft and other cloud service providers can also arrange that, and that is known as private cloud. That is limited to them only. They can browse all the services through their WAN, but those are not being shared with anyone else. And then there is hybrid cloud. In some cases, it can also happen that you would like to use some of your infrastructure and you also would like to use some of the public cloud services. So that is your hybrid cloud services. Next comes to the service model. Well, as I mentioned, there are the different kinds of services provided by the cloud service providers. That can be your infrastructure as a service, that can be your platform as a service, and that can be your software as a service. Under infrastructure as a services, you have to maintain everything by your own. That means if you have to install anything, you have to browse any kind of service, or you have to maintain it, everything is gonna be by you only. Under platform as a service, you have to only take care about some of the maintenance part or installation of the patches, security or softwares, and then you have to use your services. But under software as a service, you don't need to do anything. Simply you have to pay the amount and then you have to start browsing the services. For example, you would like to use the SQL Server database on Azure Cloud. For that, you just need to configure your Azure SQL Server or Azure SQL database over there on Microsoft Azure Portal and start using it. You don't need to worry about the security. You don't need to worry about installation or any updates or anything. That is your software as a service. Service models of cloud computing, as I just mentioned, there is a software as a service, there is a platform as a service, and there is an infrastructure as a service. Now let's discuss about the advantages of the cloud services. Well, if you are going to use the cloud services, then definitely it's going to reduce your computer cost, it's going to improve your performance as well. You don't need to depend on your IT team and you don't need to raise any kind of request that, okay, my system is not working, I'm not able to use this internet service, etc. It's also going to reduce your software cost because you are buying that in bulk and also you don't need to buy the licenses separately. It's also going to give you the instant software updates. In terms of documents formats, it's going to be very improved as compared to the conventional one that we used. If you want to talk about the storage, then you can scale it using a simple click only and you would get unlimited storage capacity. There in the cloud services, you would get increased data reliability. You don't need to worry about your data loss. Reason being, your data is being duplicated into multiple locations. Suppose there is any natural disaster in your area and your data center has been destroyed. Then in that case, you can access the data from any other location and you can continue your work over there. Under cloud services, you will also get universal document access, which is going to be available for everyone, whoever is working on those services. You would get the latest versions availability and you don't need to worry about the updates if you are using software as a service. And lastly, you would get device independence. As I mentioned previously, you can access your data or your services from anywhere around the world if you have a good internet connection. You can use via your tablet, your phone, your laptop, or maybe your system. Now let's discuss some of the disadvantages of cloud services. Well, the very first is going to be a constant internet connection with a good speed. Also, it doesn't work well with the low speed connection, so definitely you are going to have a high speed internet connection. On cloud services, though many more features are coming, but still sometimes it can happen that you might get less features as you were expecting. Sometimes it can be slow, but generally it's not slow. Lastly, your data stored might not be secure. The biggest concern nowadays with the cloud services is about the data security. Though Microsoft, AWS, and other market leaders in cloud services are providing immense amount of security for your data, even Microsoft claims 99.999% of the security of your data. But still, there are many banks or some of the industries which really doesn't feel comfortable about putting their data on cloud. So that can be a question mark for you whether you want to go for the cloud services or not. On your screen now, you can see the cloud leaders in the market. Obviously, AWS is acquiring 33%, but Microsoft Azure is acquiring 21%. Over here, you should keep one thing in your mind that AWS came into the market much before to the Azure. And that's the reason that AWS, you can see, is the market leader in terms of the cloud service providers. If we compare the same time period for both, Microsoft Azure is growing twice as much as AWS. However, there are other significant market leaders as well, such as Google Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, IBM Cloud, Salesforce, Tencent Cloud, and Oracle Cloud. There are many companies around the world that are using cloud services. Some of them you can see on your screen. Also over here, I would like to highlight that 95% of the top 500 Fortune companies are using Microsoft Cloud services. That's it for this video. In the next video, we are going to discuss what is Azure Synapse Analytics a bit in detail, and there onwards, we are going to go further into our course. What is Azure Synapse Analytics? Azure Synapse is an enterprise analytics service that accelerates time to insight across data warehouses and big data systems. Azure Snips brings together the best of SQL technologies used in enterprise data warehousing, Spark technologies used for big data, Data Explorer for log and time series analytics, pipelines for data integration, and ETL, ELT, and deep integration with other Azure services such as Power BI, Cosmos DB, and Azure ML. On your screen now you can see how these services are being architectured inside Azure Synapse Analytics. Secondly, industry-leading SQL. That means Snips SQL is a distributed query system for TSQL or Transact SQL that enables data warehousing and data visualization scenarios and extends TSQL to address streaming and machine learning scenarios. Snips SQL offers both serverless and dedicated resource models. You can use built-in streaming capabilities to land data from cloud data sources into SQL tables. Not only that, you can also integrate AI with SQL by using machine learning models to score data using the SQL predict function. Next, let's talk about industry standard Apache Spark. Apache Spark for Azure Synapse deeply and seamlessly integrates Apache Spark, the most popular open source big data engine used for data preparation, data engineering, ETL, and machine learning. And on your screen now you can see some of the features that is being provided by Azure Synapse with Apache Spark. You can pause your screen and read it over here. Next, let's discuss how it works with your data lake. Azure Synapse removes the traditional technology barriers between using SQL and Spark together. You can seamlessly mix and match based on your needs and expertise. Over here, tables defined on files in the data lake are seamlessly consumed by either Spark or Hive. Additionally, SQL and Spark can directly explore and analyze Parquet, CSV, TSV, and JSON files stored in the data lake. Also, over here you will get fast, scalable data loading between SQL and Spark databases. Next, we are going to discuss about built-in data integration in Azure Synapse. Azure Synapse contains the same data integration engine and experiences as Azure Data Factory, allowing you to create rich at-scale ETL pipelines without leaving Azure Synapse Analytics. Over here, you can ingest data from 90 plus data sources, which are increasing day by day. Over here, you will also get code-free ETL with data flow activities. And lastly, over here, you can also orchestrate notebooks, Spark jobs, stored procedures, SQL scripts, and much more. Now let's see how it integrates with Data Explorer. Data Explorer feature in Azure Synapse currently is in preview. Azure Synapse Data Explorer provides customers with an interactive query experience to unlock insights from log and telemetry data. To complement existing SQL and Apache Spark's analytics runtime engines, Data Explorer Analytics runtime is optimized for efficient log analytics using powerful indexing technology to automatically index free text and semi-structured data commonly found in telemetry data. Use Data Explorer as a data platform for building near real-time log analytics and IoT analytics solutions too. If you are consolidating and correlating your logs and events data across on-premise, cloud, third-party data sources. Also, if you want to accelerate your AI ops journey. Also, you can replace infrastructure-based log search solutions to save cost and increase productivity using Data Explorer in Azure Synapse. If you have to build IoT analytics solution from your IoT data, then also you can use Data Explorer. And lastly, you can also use it to build analytical SaaS solutions to offer services to your internal and external customers. In Azure Snips, you get unified experience. That means Snip Studio provides a single way for enterprise to build solutions, maintain and secure all in a single user experience. Over here, you can perform key tasks, for example, ingest, explore, prepare, orchestrate, and visualize your data. You can also monitor resources, usage, and users across SQL, Spark, and Data Explorer. If you have to check the role-based access control to simplify your access to analytics resources, you can do it over here. And if you have to write SQL, Spark, or KQL code and integrate with enterprise CI/CD processes, That one also you can do in Azure Synapse. While working on Azure Snips, you can also engage with the Snips community. You can use Microsoft Q&A form for any technical questions, and if you have any development related questions, you can also engage yourself with Stack Overflow. In the next part, we are going to discuss different terminologies in Azure Snips Analytics. The very first concept is about the Snips workspace. What is it? Well, a Snips workspace is a secureable collaboration boundary for doing cloud-based enterprise analytics in Azure. A workspace is deployed in a specific region and has an associated Azure Data Lake Storage Gen2 account and file system. A workspace is under a resource group. A workspace allows you to perform analytics with SQL and Apache Spark. Resources available for SQL and Apache Spark are organized into SQL and Spark pools. That simply means whatever you need to do in Azure Synapse Analytics, whether your storage account, your pipelines, or any of the linked services, everything you can unify into one workspace. And one workspace is going to fall under a resource group. If you have any more question about this, you can ask me in the comment section. Next, we are going to talk about the linked services. Linked services are nothing but your connection strings. You know that whenever you need to get a data from a source, then definitely you need to have the address of that source. And then, like we used to do in ETL, that means, for example, in SSIS or any other ETL tool, you need to establish a connection between the source and the destination or the staging area. So over there, you need to create a connection string. That can be your database address, your file address, or anything else. So that's what is your linked services. A workspace can contain any number of linked services, essentially connection strings that define the connection information needed for the workspace to connect to external resources. Next, we are going to talk about Snips SQL. Well, we all know that in order to connect with your data in a database or to explore the data over there, you need structured query language so that you can interact with the database. Similarly, Snips SQL is the ability to do Transact SQL based analytics in Snips Workspace. Snips SQL has two consumption models. Either you can buy a dedicated one or you can go for the serverless one. For the dedicated model, you use dedicated SQL pools. That means you have already predefined dedicated units over there. Those cannot change automatically. But if you want something like, for example, you are working on production and you can have sometimes sudden peaks into the data usage. So then in that case, you can go for the serverless and that can automatically be adjusted. To use Apache Spark's analytics, create and use serverless Apache Spark pools in your Snips workspace. When you start using a Spark pool, then the Snips workspaces create a Spark session to handle the resources associated with that particular session. Mainly, there are two ways within Snips Analytics to use Spark. The one can be your Spark notebooks, which you can use to do your data science and engineering, like use of Scala, PySpark, C#, or Spark SQL. Another option over here can be the Spark job definitions, which you can use for running batch Spark jobs using jar files. Now, there's another very important concept over here, which is the pipelines. So now the next concept is pipelines. If you have worked on Azure Data Factory, then I'm sure you're already aware about what are the pipelines. However, if you are new over here, then the same thing which you can do into Azure Data Factory, you can do the same in Snips Analytics as well. And here, pipelines is exactly the same concept. Pipelines are how Azure Synapse provides data integration. That means how you can do your ELT or ELTL operation, allowing you to move data between services and orchestrate activities. Over here, there are the certain terms that you should remember or you should be familiar with. For example, a pipeline. A pipeline are logical group of activities that performs a task together. That means whether you are copying data, moving data, running any of your SQL scripts, stored procedures, or you are mentioning your job triggers, etc. Everything you can orchestrate within a pipeline. Second comes your activities. Activities defines actions within a pipeline to perform on data, such as your copying data, running of any notebook, or running any SQL script, or maybe something else, like the operations that you are performing on your data. Then comes the data flow. Data flows are specific kind of activity that provide a no-code experience for doing data transformation that uses Snips Spark under the covers. Then it comes to the trigger. So definitely when you create a pipeline, you want to trigger it at a certain time or at a particular schedule. So trigger executes a pipeline. It can be run manually or automatically, like on a particular schedule, tumbling window, or event based. Then the lastly is the integration dataset. It's a named view of data that simply points or reference the data to be used in an activity as an input and output. It belongs to a linked service. Now we are going to explore the Data Explorer, which is in preview at the time of publishing this video. This is a very important tool, and in my last video already I described briefly about it. So I'm not gonna go in too much detail over here. I'll provide you again link in the description section. If you want to explore it more, you can go over there. Here, you would find that you can use Data Explorer pools, which are dedicated clusters that includes 2 or more compute nodes with local SSD storage or hot cache for optimized query performance and multiple blob storage, that is the cold storage for persistence. Then there is a Data Explorer database, which are hosted on Data Explorer pools and logical entities made up of collection of tables and other database objects. Then there are tables. Tables are database objects that contain data that is organized using a traditional relational data model. And lastly, the external table. So in case of external table, these are the tables that reference a storage or SQL data source outside the Data Explorer database. Similar to tables, an external table has a well-defined schema. Unlike Data Explorer tables, where data is ingested into Data Explorer pools, external tables operate on a data stored and managed outside the pools. So this is another way to get the data outside the Data Explorer pools. Now question comes, what comes next? Well, in our next video, I am going to create a Snips workspace and we will go through each and every step over there. We will determine what is where, that means where you can do the configuration, where is your pipelines, where is your database, etc. I have already explained you what is a Snips workspace, and if you still have any doubt about it, you can ask me in the comment section. But for this session, you would need a Azure account. If you haven't created any Azure account, please go on Azure Portal and over there you can create your free Azure account. You would need a credit card for that. Although Microsoft is not going to charge you anything, it's just for the verification purpose. So please create your free Azure account and you would get certain credit and benefits as well. Now let's go to the Azure portal and see what we can do over there in order to create a Snips workspace. Over here, I'm on my Azure portal. If you haven't logged in, you can log in using portal.azure.com and you would come over here on this interface. You can see all the resources that you have created earlier. Otherwise, you can create the new too. Now, what we are going to do, you have to come over here in this search bar, and over here you can either type the Azure Synapse Analytics or you can select if you have recently used it. So for example, I'm over here and I'm going to type Azure Synapse Analytics and you would see there's an option. Just click over here. Once you will click over here, if you have already created your Azure Synapse Analytics account, then it would appear over here. Like over here, you can see BCP Demo Snips, which I already created. Otherwise, you can create new as well. So if there is nothing, then over here also you would find one button saying create your workspace. Otherwise you can just come over here, click on create. It's gonna open a new window for you, and here you can select all those options. The very first, you have to select your subscription that you have. Like I have this MSTN platform subscription, I can select that. Now comes to the resources, or either you can select your existing resource where you would like to keep it. Otherwise you can create a new one too over here, and then you can give it a name. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep it in my BCP learning. This is my resource. Over here on managed resource group, if you don't know what is it, just hover your cursor on this I button and you would get to know what is it. For this session, we really don't need it, so I'm gonna leave it blank. Next to that, there is a workspace name. So here your actual work starts. What is the name of your Snips workspace that you are gonna give? So please provide name over here. For example, I write demo BCP Snips. Once you will see over here, then it's gonna pass through certain rules. So always please remember that it's only gonna accept all the small letters. You can select your region. So always try to select the nearest region to your data. In my case, I have just selected the central US, so you can change it according to your own choice. Then there is a select data lake storage gen 2. Just keep it from the subscription. If you want to enter manually URL, you can do that. Now there is a name, that is the account name. So either you can create new or you can select if you have already. For example, I have already BCP Snips, so I'm going to select this. And now it comes to the file system name. So I have already created this BCP users. You can create a new according to your own choice that you would like to create. So once you've done all these, next you can move to security if you want to change anything over there. Then next is networking, tag and review plus create. All these are not necessary as of now. I'm keeping it default. Once you will do that, it's going to check the validation of for this one and it succeeded. You can see that. Now you can just click on this create button and it's going to create. In our case, I have already created one Snips workspace, so I don't need to create it again. Otherwise, it's going to take a while to complete the deployment process, and it can take 5 to 10 minutes or maybe more, depends upon your network speed and all. So let me go back and I'm going to go to my BCP demo workspace, which I have already created, and I'm going to discard my changes over here. Once you will come over here, you would find a completely new interface. Over here, you will see on your right hand side all the overview, activity log, settings, analytic pools and everything. We are going to discuss all these three pools, SQL pools, Apache Spark pools, Data Explorer pools in our upcoming videos. So please stick with this course. You will get to know everything. But the main motto over here is to analyze the data using Snips Analytics. And for that, we have this Snips Studio. So you can just click on this open button over here, and then it's going to open a completely new window, which is your Azure Synapse Studio. Here you can create your link services, your data pipelines, you can orchestrate your data, you can manage all those security triggers, everything in a unified space you can do over here. Before that, in case of Azure Factory, we have to go to the different places. We have to do a lot of different orchestration. Then we can do the process. But here, it's a single interface where you can do everything. Now you can see over here, you can ingest your data, you can explore and analyze, and then you can visualize using Power BI. If you need to read more, please check out all those sources like your community and all those study materials. Everything is gonna be over here. On your left hand side, you will see there's a home button, which is gonna give you this interface. Then there's a data, develop, integrate, monitor, and manage. So everything you would find over here. But for this session, we are gonna stick to the data one. Once you will come under this data tab, you would see there's a workspace, which is this workspace, then there's a linked. Here we can create our linked services or the containers that we need to do. And by default, it would show you this Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So please click on this. And here you will get your primary and secondary containers over here. Now for this session, you have to stick with this first one, which is the primary, and we are going to upload a data file over there. So how you can do that? Come to this container, click over here. Now you would get an option to upload file, new folder, select all, refresh and all. So we have to upload a file. I'll provide you link in the description section. You can download that file and you can upload it. So click over here. Now you can select a file from your system. Over here I have this NYT trip small Parquet file. I click on this, I select it, and now I'm gonna open it. Once you will do that, then its upload button is gonna highlight it over here. Just upload the file. It would take a couple of minutes, depends on the size of the file, and soon it's gonna available over here. So now I'm gonna hit this refresh button, and here it is. So that's all you need to understand about the Snips Analytics workspace, what you can do, how you can upload your files in the containers. And if you need to know more about the containers, basic definitions, what is Azure storage and all, please don't forget to check our course on Azure Data Engineering Associate exam. In the next video, we are going to analyze using serverless SQL pools. Serverless SQL pools let you use SQL without having the reserve capacity. Billing for a serverless SQL pool is based on the amount of data processed to run the query and not the number of nodes used to run the query. Every workspace in Snips comes with a pre-configured serverless SQL pools called built-in. So let's see how can we achieve that and how you can do that. Right now I'm into my Azure Snips Analytics, and over here on the left hand side you can see my different tabs are over there. So we have to click on data. Once you will click on data, then you would find there is a workspace and the linked. So under the linked, if you remember from the last video, we have uploaded a file over here. So over here you can see this is the BCP demo Snips, which is my primary container. In this, if I'll click, I'll get this one. That is the file that I have uploaded over here in our last video. Now, what can we do? First of all, after logging in into our developed hub, we have to create a Sql script. And as I mentioned to you just a couple of minutes back, every workspace comes with pre-configured serverless SQL pool called built-in. So it is the same. Now on the top you will see new SQL script. That means if you would like to analyze this data into this SQL pool, so just click on this, and over here you would get some options. That means select top 100 rows, create external table, and bulk load. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select the first option over here, and as soon as you would do this, it's going to automatically get the file address, which is over here, https bcpsnips.dfs.windows.net, and then we can analyze this data. Now you have your script, so what you can do, just click on the run button. It would take some time. Now as you can see, this query is taking time. At the bottom you can see the retrieving query result, and here we have. So now you can see this data in the table, but if you would like to analyze in the chart as well, you can see over here. Now there's the option save as image. So if you would like to save this as image, you can do that too, but it's totally up to your choice. But right now you will see this is not appearing something good that you would like to analyze. Why? Because we are selecting everything from here. So if you would like to select something specific, you can do that too. So that was the first part that you can do over here. And this is my script over here, which can you see. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create data exploration database. And with the help of that, we are going to analyze this data further. So let's see how to do that. In the Snips serverless SQL pool, you can browse the content of the file directly via master database. So on the top, you can see there is a master database and data exploration DB. So I have already created this data exploration DB, but I'm going to show you how you can do that. So in order to create the data exploration DB, what you have to do, you have to run a script in SQL to create database, and what that script can be. So if I'll come over here, so this is the create database script, which is very simple to use. If you don't know any of these things, you can put down your comment in the comment section and I'll get back to you. So you should always use this suffix to ensure that UTF-8 text is properly converted to varchar column. So whenever you are gonna work on it, just remember that. Now over here, this collate, that means what's collation doing? This one provides the best performance in the queries that read data from Parquet files and Cosmos DB container. Since our file that we uploaded over here was a Parquet file, that's why it's going to provide you the best performance over here. And that's how you can create this database. But if I'm going to run this, it's going to show me error. Reason being, this database is already existing. So let's run it. Over here, you can see this message, database, data exploration DB already exists. Choose a different database name. So if you would like to run it, so first you have to drop it. So how we can do it? Drop database, and then we have to give this name over here. It's simple SQL concept. If you don't know, then I'll really request you to go and revise or refresh your SQL concepts. And this has been executed successfully. Now I can run it again and it's gonna create it. Now what we are gonna do, we are gonna switch to our database, because in master database we have already created a new database. So now we can do over here, and here we are going to create an external data source. For that also again we have to run a script, and in order to run the script we have to write it down, and let's do this over here. Over here I'm going to create external data source. That means the data source name would be Contoso Lake over here. But remember, here my address is bcp snips dfs.core.net. So you have to always check the address of your file where you have placed it. So according to that you have to mention over here. So let me just replace it quickly. So this is my location where I'm going to create my Contoso Lake data source, which is my external data source. And but before that I have to again change my database. So let me refresh it. And here you can see my database is there. So please select your database that you have created. And here this has been run successfully. Always remember, an external data source can be created without a credential. If a credential does not exist, the caller's identity will be used to access the external data source. Now optionally what you can do, you can use the master database to create a login for a user in this database that we have just created that will access external data. So how to do that? For that you have to run a short script, and that script would be this. So you have to create a login data_explorer with the password this one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run this script. So it's saying that this data_explorer is already exists because I have created. So let me change it to 1, give it a different name, and then run it again. 1 is also exists, so I have to give it 2. So I have provided name 2 to this one, and now I'm going to run the script, and it's been executed successfully. Now to create a database user in Data Exploration DB for the login and grant the administrator database bulk operation permission, we have to run another script. So let's run one more script over here to grant the permission. So this one is Data Explorer, which is the user, but over here our user is 2 under the Data Explorer, and here we have to grant administrator database bulk operation to Data Explorer 2. So always make sure that your username is correct, and now we can run this again. So let's run it, and it has been executed successfully too. Now the only last step is remaining over here, which we are gonna do. That means we are going to explore the content of the file using the relative path and the data source. We have created the external data source, and now we are going to explore the content of the file. So how to do that? For that, there is a script that you need to run, and what you can write over here. So you have to write something like this, but here make sure that your path is correct, because if you will go on the top, you will see my path is BCP users, and then at last is parking. Not like this users and this parking. So I can replace this over here, and now my data source name is also different. My data source name is 1. Now I can run this script after making all the changes according to my own credentials. So let's run this. It's gonna run successfully, and here you can see the results. If you would like to highlight, you can do that. So again, same, if you would like to visualize the data, you can visualize this. You can change your chart type over here, whichever you like. Or if you want to use some of the columns or something like that, please select from here and then start using. So this is the kind of visualization as well which we would find over here. And if you would like to save it as an image, you can do that. I'm going back to the table. So now let's recap what we have done so far. We came first into our Azure Snips analytics. Now here we come to under the linked. Over here we find our primary BCP Snips workspace. Here we come to this one. Here we created a script to analyze the data or to view the data into our file, that is select top 100 rows. We got this, and now when we run this, then we got all the data, and then you can visualize all the data from the file. The second step what we did, we just created a new database, that is the data exploration DB that we created over here, and always use this collate and this statement which is saying let in one journal 100 BI into UFT. This is a very big reason to use that. It's gonna improve the performance whenever you are working on Contoso DB or you are working on the Parquet files. Then we created external data source which is over here. Then also we created the login. So we created login, then we assigned the administrator permission for the workload for this user, which is this one. At last, what we did, we just analyzed the file, the external data source that we created, and we see what is the results inside this. So that's all we did in today's video, which is analyze using serverless SQL pools. So right now I'm into my Azure Synapse Analytics workspace. So the very first what you have to do, you have to come under this manage tab, and over here we have to create new data explorer. So you can see this data explorer pools which is in preview right now. So you have to select in create, and over here you have to provide some of the information. So let's start providing these information. So first I'm gonna write the name of this data explorer pool, and then you have to write the workload. So which kind of workload you would like to select. So there are options: storage optimized or compute optimized. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use this compute optimized option over here. Here it's saying Contoso Data Explorer is not unique, so it should be unique. So what we can do, we can change it. So let me give it a name 4. And now we have to select the size. So what would be the size of your compute? So you have to select. So we are going to select small 4 over here because it's just for the demonstration purpose. And now just click review and create. We don't need to make any more changes, and it's been validated. Now we can create it. Keep an eye on this deploying option, and you have to check the notification whether it's been deployed successfully or not. So please wait for that, and once it's done, then you can do that. And here you can see it's still deploying. So it would take 10 to 15 minutes. So probably we have to wait, and I'll come back here once it's gonna done. So it's been created. Let's refresh this and see whether it's been created or not. So now as you can see, it has been deployed successfully. We can close this window, and if you would like to refresh, you can refresh it. Once it's done, you have to go to this data tab over here, and here you have to click in this plus button. There you would see this Data Explorer database preview. Click on this, and here you have to select your Data Explorer that you have just created, and you have to give it a name. Let the rest of the value default as it is and select create. It's again gonna take some time. So here it's saying database creation is in progress. You can always check the notifications. Now you can see clearly that database creation has been succeeded. So close this window. So now this process has been completed. Now we can come under the develop, and we can create a KQL script. So click on this, and you have to select these two options. First, connect to, like where you would like to connect and your database. So connect to, we can select this Contoso Explorer 4, and here our database. That's the first thing. Under the general properties, if you want to give it a name, you can give it a name, or you can write KQL script underscore demo as well. So totally up to you what is the name that you would like to give it over here. And here we can paste one simple script over here, which I just pasted. So you can see that. Now once you have pasted your script over here, you can click the run button, which is over here, to create your Storm events table. So this script is doing nothing. It's going to create a table by the name of Storm events into your Data Explorer. So click on this, and here you can see that Storm event table has been created into your test database. That's what we have done over here. So while working on this, always remember that you have verified that table has been created successfully, like I have shown you over here. And also at the bottom there is a message, query executed successfully. So now you know that your database table has been created, but you need to verify that. How to verify? For that you have to come to this data tab, and under data tab go to the workspaces, and here you would see Data Explorer databases, and over here this is our database, which is test database. And here we can see the tables that we have created. So come to this table, and this is our table, which is our Storm events table. You can see all the fields are available over here. Now what we are going to do, we are going to run another command, and then we are going to see how it's going to behave. For that we have to create another script. So let's see how to do that. So let me just remove this, paste this simple script. You can also paste it if you would like to, and we are going to see how it's going to behave. So click on run button. It's executing, it's taking some time. So if you also would like to run these scripts, I'm going to provide you all these scripts and all those steps in a document so that you can run by yourself. Now it's been run. If you will see, there's nothing in this database, so we are not getting anything over here. We are not getting anything over here because it's simply ingesting some data into our table. Now we can try to query the data and we can see how it behaves. So for that we have to run another KQL script. So what you can do, just select this again, remove it from here, paste this, and it's gonna query your Storm events table so that we can see the data. So let's run it. And here now you can see that all the data is appearing into this Storm events table. First we came to the manage. Here we create the new. Under the new we created our data explorer. Once we done this, it generally takes time, 10 to 15 minutes. So please make sure its status is online and it's been verified. Once done, then you have to go to this data tab. Over here, once you will come, you have to select this plus button and you have to come to this data explorer tab. Over here, you have to select this Contoso data explorer. Then you have to give name and keep some values default. Once it's been created, you can go back. And what you can do, you will come to this develop tab. And here you have to create KQL script. Here you have to run some of the scripts. That means first we have to create a table into our database. Once the table has been created, what we can do, we can ingest some of the data. That's what we did. Now once everything has been done, you can publish it. So I'm going to publish. That means you are making your changes into the database. Over here we analyze data using data explorer pools. So that's what you can do using a data explorer pool. A serverless Spark pool is a way of indicating how a user wants to work with Spark. When you start using a pool, a Spark session is created if needed. The pool controls how many Spark resources will be used by that session and how long the session will last before it automatically pauses. In this one, you only pay for Spark resources used during that session, not for the pool itself. In this way, a Spark pool lets you work with Spark without having to worry managing your clusters. This is similar to how a serverless SQL pool works, which we just saw in our previous video. And in this video, we are going to analyze New York taxi data with Spark pools. So let's get started. Right now, I'm into my BCP demo Snips, which is my Snips Analytics workspace. I'm using Snips Analytics Studio over here, and you should also use the same while working onto Snips Analytics. First, we have to come under this Manage tab. And over here, you can see under the Analytics pools, there are three pools: SQL pools, Apache Spark pools, and Data Explorer pools. SQL pools and Data Explorer pools we have already discussed in the previous videos. And in this video, we are going to focus on Apache Spark pools. So please click on this and over here, create new. Here you have to mention all the names and you have to select the node size or the other options as well. So let me do it quickly. So the very first is Apache Spark pool name. So we are going to name it Spark1. Next comes the node size family, which you can select memory optimized, which is by default. And then you have to select the node size, which we are going to select the small one, not the medium or not the large one, because it's just a demo session. But according to the load, you can select the one that you would like to. So over here, small is 4 vCores or 32 GB. So just select this. Auto scale enabled, and minimum we are going to select 3 only. So that's all right. And let the rest of the options as it is. Just review and create over here. Now it would take some time to deploy it, so please always pay attention to the notifications and check whether it's been deployed or not. Now we have to go back to our develop tab over here, and here you will see this plus button, and over here we are going to create a notebook. You can rename it. Now in this one, you see there's a message which is saying please select a Spark pool to attach before running the cell. So we have to attach it. So now select this drop down over here. It's not appearing, so probably you have to refresh it as well. So, and here it's Spark 1, and here we have to post a script. I'll provide you all the links in the description and all the scripts as well that you have to use. So let me just paste it over here. So what it's doing in the very first video when we were using the serverless SQL pool, and before that creating a Snips workspace, we loaded one file into our Snips workspace, and that file has been accessed via this address. So this is the same address that I have placed it over here. Now what I have to do, I have to run it. So just click on this run all, and it would start the Spark session, which can take several minutes. So please be patient. As you can see, our session has been started and it's running perfectly fine. Now, if you just want to see the schema of the data frame, you can also see that. For that, what you have to do, you have to just click on this code plus button and you have to paste this script over here and you have to run it. So just click on this run all, or you can even select it which one you want to run. So first has been run and the second has been run too. That means you can see all the schema. Now what we are going to do, we are going to load the New York taxi data into the Spark NYC taxi database, and let's see how to do that. So now we are going to create another cell over here. So right now data is available via the data frame named df. As you can see over here, we use this df where our data is available. Now we are going to load it into Spark database named NYC taxi, and for that we have to run a code. So what we can do, we'll come here and we are going to paste one code which is over here, which is saying spark.sql create a database if not exist, that is NYC taxi, and once it's going to create the database, then we can write it into this NYC taxi database. So we have to just run it. It would take some time to write the data into your database, and it's going to create a new database which is NYC taxi. Now it's been created. So what we can do now, we can analyze this NYC taxi data using Spark and notebooks. So for that, again, we have to create a new code, and this new code cell here I'm going to paste it and I'm going to run this one. Once it's going to run, that means our NYC taxi data has been loaded into the NYC taxi Spark database. So what we are going to do, we are going to analyze this data and save the results into a table, and we are going to give it a name. That name would be NYC taxi.passenger count statistics. You can change the name, that's not a problem. You can give it any name, you can change the database name, etc. So what you can do, just click over here in this code button, and here we are going to paste this code and then run again all together. So what we did so far, we create one Apache Spark pool, then we create a notebook. In the notebook, we run some codes. In the codes, what we did, first we load our Parquet file data into the data frame. Once that file is been loaded into data frame, then we use that data frame to create a database. And in the database, we created a table and we put some of the data over there. That's all we did. And here you can see at last that we can see the passenger counts, some of the trip distances, average trip distances, everything is there. Once you are satisfied with this, you can publish this. So that's all you need to do, analyze your NYC taxi data using a serverless Spark pool. The very first, you have to log in into your Snips Analytics Studio, and once you are over here, you have to go to this Manage tab, which is on your left hand side. Click over here, then you have to come under SQL Pools, and now you will see this button over here which is saying New. Click over here. Now you will again get some of the settings over here, plus you have to fill some of the information in order to create your new dedicated SQL pool. So what we are going to do over here, first we have to give it a name. So in our case, we are going to give it a name like SQL Pool 1. Once you give it a name, then you have to also select the performance level. And over here, our performance level is going to be DW1000C. Keep it as it is. Now you can see the estimated cost per hour is 15.10 USD. If you would like to know more about the pricing details, click on this and you will get to know about the pricing details for this one. And you will get your estimated price over here. If you would like to go to the additional settings, you can go. But here we really don't need it, so I'm not gonna go over there. It's very much similar, which you have done previously, or whenever you are trying to create a new resource. So I believe you have pretty good idea about it. So we are not gonna go into that one. Now, what we are gonna do, we are going to click on this button, Review plus Create. And here you can see that validation has been succeeded. Now we can create it. Just click on Create button. And as I always mention you, please don't forget to check your notifications, because whenever something is deploying, you have to wait till that part has been deployed. Now what you can do, you can navigate to data and where we are going into our resources. So one more thing you should always remember here, your dedicated SQL pool is associated with a SQL database. That is also called SQL Pool 1 because we have created it the same name. So it's going to be related to your SQL database too, which is going to be with the same name. Now what we have to do, we have to go to our data tab over here. Now once you are into your data tab, you have to go to your workspaces and here you should see a database name SQL Pool 1. If you do not see, you have to click refresh button. So as I just mentioned you, if you cannot see your SQL Pool 1, you need to hit the refresh button. So I'll just click on this refresh button over here. And now I'll go under SQL database and over here I can see that my dedicated SQL Pool 1 is over here. If you will expand this, you will get all the same kind of items or objects that you get under SQL database. Now what we have to do, we have to go to this develop tab. So once you are over here under this develop tab, you have to click plus icon and you have to click on this SQL script because we are going to run SQL script against our dedicated SQL pool, which is SQL pool 1. And you can also rename the script over here. If you would like to write any description over here, you can do that and you can select first 5000 rows or all rows, it's up to you. And now we have to paste our SQL script over here. I have already one SQL script that we are going to use over here, but you have to remember the file path that you uploaded into your Snips analytics the very first time when we uploaded the taxi data over here, which was in the Parquet file. So I'm going to paste my script over here. You can close this window from here. So you have to remember this path, which is going to be very helpful for you in order to create another table or to load the data. Now once you've done this, you have to simply click on run. But once again, you have to always select your dedicated SQL pool that you have created over here. To this connect to and you have to select it over here. Now you have to simply click on this run button. It would take some time, but then it would load the data into the corresponding table. Now you can see that this script has been finished into 14 seconds, query executed successfully. Now since it's been done, what we can do, we can now explore the NYC taxi data in the dedicated SQL pool. Now how to do that? For that we have to go to our data tab, come over here under this data tab. Under this data tab, what you can do, you can select your SQL pool. There are the tables and there would be a new table that we just created, which is by the name of dbo.nyctaxi trip small, which is over here. This is the same table we have created into our SQL script in which we have loaded the data. And you can also see all the columns over here. So what you can do, you can just right click, click a new script and select top 100 rows. Now this is your script and over here you can see that I have selected top 100 rows from this same table which I'm getting over here. So all of your data is over here. You can easily analyze this data. But not only that, if you would like to create a new script as well, you can do that. What you can do, just click over here, new script, and over here you have multiple options. So you can choose either of them. For example, I'll just click on create. Now you just click on create because it's going to create you a new table, but I don't need to use this script. What I want to use my own script, which is this one, where I'm applying certain aggregation over the data for this table. As you can see, I'm applying sum and average over here. So this is just another example. To run any script against this table, just click OK and run this table. It will take certain time, and then at last you will get your data over here. So which is over here, you will see the passenger count, some trip distance, average of trip distance, everything is over here. So this is a way you can use the dedicated SQL pool in Azure Snips Analytics. So let's quickly recap what we did in this video. We first came under this Manage tab on your left hand side. Then under this SQL pools, we created new dedicated SQL pool. Once it's done, we came to this data tab, and over here under this SQL database, we found that our SQL pool has been created. For that, you have to wait at least 5 to 8 minutes that it reflects over here. If it's not reflecting, you can click on this refresh button and it's going to reflect. Once you are over here, you create a new script, and that script was just to create a new table into your this SQL database. And in that table, we loaded all the data that we have already uploaded as a Parquet file into our Snips Analytics. Once we had that, we just analyze the data. And in that one, we just try to analyze the data once it's loaded into the table. For example, this, we get to know the sum trip distances or the average trip distances per passenger count. So far, we have covered scenario where data resides in databases in the workspace. Now, I'll show you how to work with files in storage accounts. In this scenario, I'll use the primary storage account for the workspace and container that we specified when creating the workspace. That is BCP Snips and BCP users. So for that, first we have to create CSV and Parquet files into our storage account. And how we can do that? For that, we have to run a script. We have to run a code in the notebook in a new code cell, which is going to create CSV file and a Parquet file in the storage account. And how would you achieve that? For that, you have to come to Develop. Over here, you have to click this plus button over here, and you have to click the notebook. Once you will click this, you have to also connect it with your Spark 1, and there you can start typing your script. So now in this notebook, if you would like to rename it, you can do rename, and you can rename it over here like. And once you've done this, you can just close this, and over here you can create your new code block, which is you have to write it over here. This is my code block which I'm going to use. Once you've done this, you have to also attach it to your Spark 1, which I have this one, and I'm going to run it over here. So click on Run All. So now you can see that your script has been executed successfully, and it took 2 executors and 8 cores of the Spark. Now what we are going to do, we have to now analyze the data into our workspace, which is going to be by default Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 account, or you can link an ADLS or Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 or Blob Storage account to your workspace through Managed and Linked Services. So how we are going to do, and over here under this manage you would come to the linked services. Once you will see the linked services, you can create over here. You have to create new, and then you can create your another linked services for your Azure Data Lake Storage account or to Blob Storage account, the one you want. But right now what we have to do, we have to go back to our data tab, and over here you have to come under link services, and then you have to select your Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 account, where our primary storage account is BCP Demo Snips, and under this our container is BCP Storage. We have to select this BCP users primary container, and now we can see this NYC taxi folder inside. In this folder, you should see the 2 more folders. So let's click on this one. There are the 2 folders that we just created, that is passenger count states underscore CSV format and passenger count states underscore Parquet format. So these are the 2 folders that we have created. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to open this count states Parquet format. And over here, you will see this code over here, which is saying part this, and dot parquet. If you will just hover your mouse, you will see the full file name. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click on this one, and this one I'm going to say new notebook. And under this new notebook, I'm going to load to data frame. Now you can see your code is over here already. And it's asking you to please select a Spark pool attached before running the cell, which you have to do over here. Now you are done with that. What you can do, you can run it. So let's click on run all. And here you can see that your results are coming over here. If you would like to explore in chart, you can do that, or in table as well. Now I'm coming over here once again, and now again I'm going to right click over here, new SQL script, and I'm going to say select top 100 rows. This is over here. Now you can run it. If you want to rename it, you can do that, but I'm not going to do that. So let's just click run. It would execute. It would take certain time, and it's going to retrieve the results. And now you can see your top 100 results over here. So this is the way you can analyze data into your storage account. I hope everything is clear in this video. If you have any question and concern, please don't forget to connect with us. Also, you can put your comment in the comment section. So the very first, what you have to do, you have to come into your Azure Snips Analytics Studio, and over here you have to go to Integrate tab. So just click over here, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a pipeline over here. So in order to create a pipeline, you have to click on this plus button over here, and there you can see this pipeline button. Just click on this one, and now under activities, you can expand the Snips folder. So you have to look at the Snips folder, which is over here. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag this notebook over here. So let's just drag it over here. You can even rename this one if you would like to, but I'm going to leave it as it is right now. Now you can see that this is our notebook, which we are going to use as an activity over here. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to come over here under the settings tab, and there's a drop down over here for this notebook. So what I'm going to do over here, I'm going to use it to select a notebook from my current workspace. So as you can see under the drop down, you will get all the notebooks that you would like to execute. So for example, this notebook 1, or I can choose this Spark notebook. So let's use this one over here. So once you have selected this one, that means the one part has been done. Now what you have to do, you have to schedule the pipeline to run every hour. For that, what you can do, you have to just click on trigger, and you will say either trigger now or new or edit, because you want to run it to every hour. So you have to select new or edit, and in this one, now we have to select the new one. So for that, just click on this down arrow button and click on this new, and here you can give it a name. You can give it a name like my trigger notebook. This is just a name, so just give it some meaningful name according to the business. And over here you will see this recurrence, that means when it should go. So you can name it every 60 seconds. So just like this. Otherwise you can also come over here and say hours and select every hour. So that means it's gonna select for every hour, and then just click OK. That's all you need to do. But it's also gonna give you a warning. Make sure to publish for a trigger to be activated after clicking OK. So once you do this, you have to publish this, and also again pay attention whether this has been published or not. So that's what you can do. Now I'm going to publish it. It's going to ask me, okay, this is my pipeline, this is my trigger, we are going to publish them. It's going to take a while to get published, but you can again check in the notification. So please pay attention over here. Now it has been published successfully. Now close this one. The next part is to monitor it, whether it has been published successfully or not. Is there any errors or anything? For that you have to come under monitor. Under monitor you will see your pipeline runs, and over here right now nothing has been run because we have set it to run every hour. If you will go back over there and you will run it now, then you can run it. So for that, you can come here again, and over here you will see your trigger. So click on this and you can say run now. If you will say run now, then it's going to give you a warning. Just click OK after that. And now it's running. So if you would like to see again this, come to this notification, it's running. Or you can come over here, come under this monitor tab, and here you can see this, your pipeline is running, it has been started. It's also under process. If there would be any error or anything else, you will get to know everything over here. So this is the way you can integrate with pipelines into Azure Snips Analytics. Before doing anything, you have to log in into your Snips Studio, and only then you can choose monitoring activities. And for that, what you have to do, first you have to log in into your Snips Studio. Once you are over here, you will see there is a tab named Monitor over here. So you have to come over here and you would see the different pipelines, like my pipeline is getting failed. There is a trigger under integration, there is an integration runtime as well. But not only that, there are basically three main part over here, or three main sections. One is analytics pool, where you can monitor basically your SQL pools, Apache Spark pool, Data Explorer pool, like what all those pools are over there, you can monitor them over here. Then there is activities like your SQL request, KQL request, Apache Spark applications, and data flow. So let's go one by one. The very first is SQL pool. Over here you can see what is the status, whether it's online or not, what is the pool name, what its type, when it's created, etc. And suppose this is my SQL pool, and if you don't want to use it, you can also go under the manage, where you can pause this one. If you want to refresh, you can refresh from here. It's gonna refresh the activities. But the main point over here is that you can monitor what's going on with your SQL pool. Similarly, you can go to your Apache Spark pool and Data Explorer pools, which is in preview right now. And here you will see it's running, size is small, the instance, what is the vCPU, cache, RAM, etc. All the information you will get over here. If you would like to edit any of the columns, you can just go to edit, and you can even add a column or remove a column from here. That's what you can do. Now next comes under the activities. Here, like you have a SQL request, again you will get the similar options. If you have any SQL request, then you will see over here. If there's no, then nothing is going to appear. If you would like to refresh, suppose you have just created and it's not appearing, so please click on the refresh button. Edit column is going to be same, then your local time it's going to show. You can change it over here, you can see the status even for the selected or for all. Then pools which are built in or SQL pool, you can click and you will see them over here. Like on my SQL pool one, these all are the activities that I performed, and their status is also appearing over here. So you can scroll this left and right and you will get all the information. Similarly, you can go to the KQL request or Apache Spark or Dataflow debug. Everything is over here. Now, coming to the integration, this is very important because many of the time you have created your pipeline and you want to check its status, whether that has been run successfully or not, which is the trigger, what is the status, what is the error message, etc. Everything you are going to get over here. If you would like to check the error message, for example, this first one, it's getting failed, so you can click on this one and you will get to know the error message over here. So this is the one thing that you can do over here. Also, you can see the list or Gantt chart if you would like to prefer that one. You can group them, you can refresh that. So I'll request you to go and explore everything. If you would like to copy filter or want to manage filtering, you can do that too. If you would like to add filter, you can do that too. So this is a way that you can monitor all the pipelines over here. You can also monitor your triggers over here, which has been successfully triggered, and if it's not working, then probably it's the issue with the pipeline or maybe some of the underlying data sources. Now, the last is the integration runtime. Basically, there are three integration runtimes: Azure SSIS, Azure Integration Runtime, and self-hosted one. So everything is going to appear over here. You can check the status. Like over here, you can see the self-hosted Azure, Azure SSIS. These are the three integration services which are going to help you to get the data, to process the data into Snips Analytics. If you have any SSIS package already that you would like to run in Azure, then you will use this Azure SSIS. If you have data directly coming into Azure, then you will use Azure. If you have your data sources which are on-premise, then for that you will use the self-hosted one. So it's a part of the Azure Data Factory where I have already explained everything. If you haven't watched our videos on Azure Data Factory, please go to our channel and watch those videos too. So this was all about your different activities and your integration as well as analytic pools, how you can monitor that, what all are the different activities over there, and if something is getting failed, then how you can get to know about the error message. In the next video, we are going to explore about the knowledge center. You have to go to your Snips Analytics Studio or Snips Analytics workspace that you have created. And once you are over here, you would find this PCP demo Snips, which is the name that I have given. But if you would like to give it some other name, you can do that too. You are feel free to do that. Now, over here, you would find this open your Snips Studio, and then there's a read documentation. That means learn how to be productive quickly. You will get all the core concept tutorials and samples over here. So you can click over here and it's gonna open another tab where you can go through this documentation and you can learn everything over here. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to open this. And now once you are over here, you would find this explore and analyze, ingest, visualize. You can click any of these and you would get to know more about these individually. However, you would see over here knowledge center. You can directly click on this, and this is basically your knowledge center where you can use the samples immediately, browse galleries, to Snips Analytics Studio. So just click any of these. It's going to take you one by one to the different parts. For example, use samples immediately. You would click, you will get the samples over here. You can directly use them. Then just click cancel. If you would like to browse the gallery, that you can also do. You can go to dataset, notebooks, SQL scripts, pipelines, etc. So basically, this is for your knowledge where you will get everything. And this is going to help you to learn quickly this Snips Studio or Snips Analytics. And I'm sure it's going to be very helpful for the future, or if you are new over here, it's going to revise or refresh your core concepts and you can do it very easily. Also, for example, if I'll connect on ingest, it's going to show you how you can actually use the copy data tool, how you can ingest the data over here. You will get the different options. You have to go step by step and it's going to done it for you. If you would like to explore and analyze the data, you have to go there, and there it's the proper documentation by Microsoft where you can learn everything. Now, if we'll go back and if we click on visualize, so here you have to connect your Power BI workspace over here, and then you can directly connect your Power BI with your Snips Analytics Studio and you can start using it. Over here, one very important information is that suppose my account name is Azure Sharma 2061 over here for Azure. That's the same account should be for my Power BI account access as well. Otherwise, you will face a lot of problem. So always use the same account throughout, whether you are using Microsoft Azure, you are using SharePoint, you are using any other Microsoft services at the same time or in your organization, whether it's Power BI, Azure, SharePoint, or any other services by Microsoft. Then you can seamlessly work on it. Otherwise, you may face many challenges. So guys, this was all about the knowledge center. Now I'm sure you know how to use the knowledge center, how you can explore, ingest, explore and analyze or visualize data using Power BI. In the next video, we are going to add an administrator into our Snips Analytics workspace. I'm going to let you know everything in the next video. The user that we are going to add will have full control over the workspace. So far in this tutorial, we have focused on activities you do in Workspace. Since we have created the workspace over here in the starting of this tutorial, that means we are the administrator over here. Now we will make another user as an administrator. and I'm going to let you know how you can do that. So for that, first we are going to use Azure Rbac, that means role-based access control. And this is going to be the owner role for the workspace. And how we can do that? For that, first we have to log in into our Azure portal, which I have already logged in, and we have to come to our Snips workspace. So over here, this is the Snips Studio, not the Snips workspace. So this is my Snips workspace over here. So in this Snips workspace, if I'll go back again, just to show you, you have to come to your recent resources or the resources, then you have to find your Snips workspace that you created. Over here, the name is BCP demo workspace. Just click over here. And on your left hand side panel, you will get this access control IAM. Just click over here. And now you can add over here. So what you have to do, you have to just click on add. And here we are going to say add role assignment. Just click over here. Now, once you will click on this one, you would get the different kinds of roles over here, whether you want to add someone as the owner, contributor, reader, log analytics contributor, and many more. You can pause your screen over here and can go through each of them so that you can know what are the difference between these different roles. So I'm going to select this owner, and over here I'm going to say view details. Once I'm going to click on this view details, over here I'll get to know what is Microsoft AAD, that means Azure Active Directory, and all other different informations you will get over here. So this is under the permission. Then there's a JSON. If you want to code yourself, you can use that, or you can even use the assignment. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select this role. So once you are over here, you have already seen what are the different details. Now we have to add a member into this role. So we'll go under this members tab, and here you can see what is the role selected over here is the owner role. Assign access to user group, principal, or managed identity. So these are the two different ways that you can assign access. Over here we are going to use this user group or service principal account, and here we can select the members. So here all the members are going to appear, so you can select either of those. For example, over here I'm going to select this Connected BI Consulting Pro, which is going to be my owner. Then select this, and here if you would like to add more description, you can do that, which is optional. Then you have to go to this next, or you can directly click review plus assign, and then you have to review and assign, and you will get under the notification adding role assignment, which is done. So now we have added Connected BI Consulting Pro as the owner role under Azure Rbac, that is Azure Role-Based Access Control. So this is the one way that we can do that. Now another comes like if you have to have Snips Rbac as a Snips administrator role for the workspace, how you can do that? Now, if you would like to add as a Snips administrator role for the workspace, what you have to do, you have to log in into your Snips Studio. Over here, you would come under this Manage tab, and under Manage tab, you will find this under Security, there is Access Control. So let it get load, and over here, the account that I just added, which is my service principal account, I can select this over here. Either I can remove the access from this one, or I can click on Add. Again, I can select the role, and over here, the role that we are looking to assign is Snips Administrator. That we can do. Otherwise, you can also add specific roles as well. For example, Snips SQL Administrator or Snips Contributor. So we are going to do this Administrator. Now we can select the user over here, which is going to be my connect at biconsultingpro.com. So let's select this one. Apply, and then it has been added as an administrator over here. So this role has been assigned to this. So this is the way that you can use Snips Rbac to assign Snips administrator role to any user that you would like to do. Now in the next part, what we are going to do, we are going to use again Azure Rbac role assignment on the workspace primary storage account. So how we can do that? This is another challenge. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to again head back to my Azure portal. And so now what we are going to do, we are going to use Azure Rbac role assignment on the workspace primary storage account. And for that, we have to go to the storage account. which is going to be my BCP Snips. So let's go over here. Under this role, we can again come to the left hand side, and in this one, just select this access control IAM, click on this add button. Over here you would find again add role assignment, and there you would see all the roles which are available. Now what we are going to do, we need a role which is going to say storage blob data contributor. So let's see, this is the role that we are going to look for, storage blob data contributor. Select this member, and here the role is appearing. Now the same way you have to select the member, which I'm again going to select this connect@biconsultingpro.com, select this one, review and assign. So this is the way that you can assign a role on the Workspace primary storage account as well, and notification has been triggered, it has been added successfully. Now check this role assignment, and over here you will find all the users that has been added over here. So this is the way that you can assign a role into your primary storage account. Now one last part is remaining. That means if we have to add any role to the dedicated SQL pools, so how we can do that? For that you have to come to your dedicated SQL pools under the develop one. So over here you have to come this SQL script, click on this plus, click SQL script, and over here you have to select your pool, which is this one. This pool is currently paused, so I'm not using it, but if you would like to use, you have to use like this. And there you have to paste this small script over here. So this script is just saying create user, that is my connect@biconsultingpro.com from external provider, and there we are executing this script. So this is another way that if you want to assign any role under this dedicated SQL pools. Please remember, once you do any of the work into your Azure portal, please don't forget to publish it, so that your changes are getting saved. Otherwise you may lose all the changes or all the work that you have done.